Somebody needs to hear this. It is not because you're shooting on a Sony or on a Nikon or a Fujifilm or anything. That is not what makes you a good photographer or a videographer. It is what you have up here. With the crappiest camera, you can create something better than somebody that has the best camera. This is not even motivational talk. People who are involved in photography believe that they cannot do videography. Every single technicality that you need in telling a story for both pictures and videos are absolutely the same thing. Today we're going to be talking about things that are very peculiar to photography and videography, or majorly photography. So we're going to be examining some of the common misconceptions that people have concerning photography and videography. Now, I'll just be addressing it one by one. So these things are totally not true about photography and videography. There are certain myths and ideologies that have been formed about photography and videography that are actually not true. In fact, about all creative arts, you understand? So based off of experience, what people have done is that they've made their personal experience of these creative arts into a compulsory ideology that everyone has to adopt. One of the first misconceptions about photography and videography is the idea that videography is harder than photography. So a lot of people just look at videography and then they just tell themselves that this is too complicated, it's too hard, it's something that cannot be learned, we cannot understand this and all other things. But one of the things I want to tell you is that photography and videography are basically the same thing. So photography and videography are actually the same thing. The only difference between photography and videography is the fact that photography is still pictures while videography is motion pictures, that is moving pictures. So there are multiple images. Look at videography as multiple images put together into one and is a continuous image. And then look at photography as just one image. Now, ask yourself this question. Is it possible for you to better narrate a story using videos or pictures? Which one is easier? Is it easy to tell a story with videography rather than photography, or do you think otherwise? I need quick answers.
No, I can't say anyone is easier. I just believe it's just perspective and how you want to tell the story.
Okay. Now, if you had the chance to make multiple meals to prove that you can cook, and you had the chance to make only one meal to show that you can cook, which would you have more pressure?
Multiple meals.
You will have more pressure making multiple meals? Are you sure? What do you think?
I think I'll have more pressure making one meal.
Why?
Because I feel like in making multiple meal, I should be able to, okay, I might not get all right, but I should be able to show you what I can do or what I can make. As in what I can do basically with some of the meals. But making one meal and maybe possibly getting it wrong definitely passed the wrong message at that time.
Do you agree, David? If you had to prove yourself in making that you can cook and you had to make multiple meals or one meal, just one chance, and you had multiple chances to make meals, which one would you go for?
Go for the three. Go for the three.
Three? Which three?
You said multiple. I'll go for the multiple.
Okay, you go for the multiple. Okay. So what I meant by that question is, if you had a chance to make one meal to convince people that you can cook, and then you had the chance to make multiple meals to convince people that you can cook, which would you go for? Personally, I would go for the multiple meals because I have the chance to both make mistakes and then correct it. Now, I can even convince you better that I'm a better cook because I can easily shape the meals to look a certain way. You understand? Like I can have the first course, second course, I can have dessert, I can have all of those things. But then when I have just one chance to make a meal and convince people that I can cook, then I would be very careful to not make a mistake in that one meal that I can cook. Now look at it as photography and videography side by side. If videography is motion pictures, that is multiple pictures all layered together as a motion, or in motion rather, and you have photography that you had to prove yourself per image, not a group of images. which do you think you can convince or tell people a better story? I personally think that in that aspect, that you have to be a very skilled photographer to be able to match up with a videographer. That is what I personally feel. Because for a videographer, what you'd see is that a videographer can easily shape what you think in a minute or 30 seconds of footage. That is, but if a photographer wanted to do this, the photographer has to first think about the different messages he wants to pass or she wants to pass, and then find a way to infuse all of those elements in one. Do you understand what I'm saying? So now, does it now make the photographer's job easier or harder? It now makes the photographer's job even more technical. Do you understand? Because you now have to prove, or you now have to tell a story per image. But then for videos, you can just, in fact, you have scenes in videos that can tell different stories. Do you understand? As little as panning your camera from left to right, you fully told a whole story of the environment. But then if I wanted to tell that, I have to take one picture, take another picture. In fact, if I wanted to tell every or the whole story of the environment at a single time, that means I had to step back more and find a way to make everything make sense together. Do you understand what I'm saying? So now, one particular misconception that people have about photography and videography is the fact that videography is harder. Now, this is not me saying photography is even harder. I'm saying each of these crafts have their different technicalities. So you'll discover that a photographer has more work to do in putting an image together. That is, you have to care about every single part of your frame. Well, the videographer also has to care about every single part of their frame, but then they have the liberty of telling story in different parts. Do you understand my point? So except you're a photographer, you don't go about like maybe zooming in an image and then say, okay, this part of this image, it tells this story and it looks so good. This part of this image tells another story. This part, do you understand? Not everyone has the time to actually sit down and deconstruct an image like that. Do you understand? But then for videography, you kind of like have the opportunity to have like a close-up first, and then you have like a full shot. And then you have like a shot where maybe you are panning left or right or something. Do you understand? So in doing all of this, you are allowed to tell your story in parts. Do you understand what I'm saying? But then it doesn't still mean that the photographer cannot like merge pictures together and do all of those things together. But then I feel like merging of pictures should be in post-production, except maybe you want to do double exposure. So except that, then the only thing that you have to do is now to tell a story using one image at least at a time. Do you understand my point? So each of these creative arts, they have their place. One is not more easier than the other. A photographer's job is not harder than a videographer's job. Neither is a videographer's job harder than a photographer's job. Do you understand? So all of this takes a lot of work. And I've heard videographers also say this, that video edit takes time. Yes, video edit takes a lot of time, but so does pictures also. Do you understand? So we spoke about the technicalities of taking an image, doing all of those things, like all that goes into the creative process of making an image tell a whole story that maybe a video is meant to tell. I just believe both have their very technical sides, and then you require a lot of dedication and time to actually tell stories on both parts. Do we understand? Now, one of the common misconceptions that we have about photography and videography is the fact that people who are involved in photography believe that they cannot do videography, while people who are videographers feel that they don't need to have an idea about taking pictures. Now, hear me out. One of the things that you have to actually know is that pictures and videos are literally the same thing. Now, I'm coming from the point of like every single technicality that you need in telling a story for both pictures and videos are absolutely the same thing. If you look at framing, if you look at perspective, if you look at lighting, if you look at colors, every single thing that you need to tell a story for photography, you actually need that same technicalities to tell a story in videography. So what you now see is that people now, even with the coming of content creators and everything, people actually feel like, oh, because I am a videographer, a content creator, I cannot actually take pictures. Well, the idea you have from making videos can easily be transformed into taking pictures. And then one thing everyone should know is that learning how to take pictures or learning how to make videos will come in handy someday. So imagine you're done as a photographer, as a videographer, having like maybe a podcast session, or you're having like maybe a talking head video or something. You need a thumbnail for that particular video, right? And a thumbnail is not a video. A thumbnail is a picture. If you don't learn how to the technicalities of taking a picture, how then do you function as a videographer that needs a good picture for the thumbnail of a video? In fact, there are certain pictures that you, as a photographer, and you may need to have a motion of that particular pictures. That is, after taking the picture, you may just complete that story. It may just be a short video of maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds of the picture in motion. Take for instance, you take a picture showing the lady's hand and the purse as a product shot. Now, imagine how beautiful that would be if you got that particular lighting and a beautiful shot, and you just told the model to swing her hand in a particular direction, so to make a little motion so that the bag moves. Can you imagine how beautiful that will come out? So you have both the pictures and you have both the videos. But then the common misconception is that because I am a photographer, nothing pertaining to video should concern me. Because I am a videographer, nothing pertaining to pictures should concern me. You should actually train yourself to use all of this knowledge in different ways. Because you may just be faced with a particular situation where somebody may want to book you, and then the person may just want a one-stop shop. They may want your service for videography. We've had people actually ask me for that. Oh, we don't want to pay a different videographer from a different photographer. We actually love your work, and we want you to shoot our pictures and our videos for us. So what you're doing as a photographer and a videographer that is choosing to stay only on photography or videography is that you're limiting yourself. Now, hear me out. This is not a call to mediocrity in both aspects. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Many creatives tell themselves that because I want to be jack of all trades and master of all, I'll learn a little of photography and know a little of videography, and then I'll just try to make it work. Now, I'm not great at photography, I'm not great at videography, but I just know a little thing here, I know a little thing there. But what that will now do for you is that it will make you a mediocre in both aspects. So you are not great at photography, neither are you great at videography. You are just in between. That is not what this is about. But what this is about is that in as much as you are very excellent in taking pictures, you need to have an idea of videos. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me some questions as to where do you get some of the inspirations for your pictures, for your videos, and some other things that you do, like maybe your creative works. Now, I am primarily a photographer, but most of the ideas that I get for pictures that I shoot are gotten from videos. They are gotten from music videos, they are gotten from movies, they are gotten from all of these things. So if I as a photographer only chose to focus on the picture side of things, and then maybe only go to Pinterest to gather ideas and all of those things, and Instagram to gather pictures together as a mood board for shoots, don't you think I'll be limited as to what I want to create? But how about I broaden my knowledge? How about I learn about how film lighting works? How about I go and watch a tutorial on how a movie was shot? Now, if videos are motion pictures and I am a photographer and I learn the lighting that they use for motion pictures, how about if I now convert that into photography and I now learn how to make still images with those lightings? You discover that in shooting Hollywood movies, you discover that there are different lighting setups that are amazing. It will blow your mind. The moment you just look at those lighting setups, it kind of opens the gate of your mind. So limiting yourself to that particular craft that is maybe only pictures or videos, you are just limiting the level to which you can create. Now, remember the class where we spoke about your mind, how your mind is the gateway to your creativity, and your mind is the gateway to whatever it is you want to create. Now, think about it this way. If your mind does not access a higher level of knowledge, there's no way that you are actually going to create something in that light. Do you understand? So if you stay thinking on a particular level, there are some people that have this particular idea that videography is so hard. So they don't even try. They don't even make a mistake to try. to even make a video and see how bad it can turn out. I'm using the word how bad it can turn out, because if you can try and see how bad it can come out, that means you already have a base. There's already a worst to it. It can only get as bad as that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you can even try to even know the base of how bad you are at something, like maybe just try to just make a video, no matter how terrible it is, and then you know that, okay, this is how bad I am in videography. How about I just try to maybe learn one or two things, go on YouTube, just practice, see how videos are being shot, and then just try something. You discover that in just doing that, you have fully taken yourself from the level of that terrible video that you did to another level. It may still be terrible, but then you are moving forward on the learning ladder rather than just staying in one place. And then because of this ideology that has been inculcated in us as a people, that videography is harder than photography, so choosing not to even try. So I think I've heard this being said somewhere, that the regret of not trying is even worse. Do you understand? It's better for you to look back and then look at the fact that you tried and then it didn't work, but then looking back and then knowing that you did not even try, that regret is even worse than you even trying and failing at it. If you can go as far as learning both things excellently, fine. But if you can't go so far in learning both things, then concentrate on one and then just have basic knowledge about doing the other. Now, the next misconception that many creatives actually fail to understand is that you can learn from all of the different art forms. Now, this kind of relates to the last point I mentioned about photography and videography, where photographers can learn from videographers, videographers can learn from photographers. Aside from photography and videography, you can actually learn from the way art was made before now. That is art, old art. That is people who paint, people who do sculptures and everything. There were certain emotions that they were able to tell us at that time. Now, they did not have the luxury of having like maybe all of the different color mix to use in their paintings and everything. In fact, some paintings were primarily done in black and white, but then they were able to tell all of these emotions. And you discover that some of these sculptures from a long time ago, if you look at some of these sculptures in museums, I think a very rich tradition in Nigeria is the Benin culture. If you look at them, you discover that some of these sculptures were very expressive. Now, imagine learning how to pose using all of those sculptures. Imagine learning how those emotions were told. In fact, you see some sculptures that go as far as showing how sad somebody could be. I've seen sculptures that showed the slave trade and then showed how people were agonizing and how people were in so much pain with chains around their neck, sitting down and all. Imagine infusing that into an editorial shoot. How about you do that? How about if you wanted to tell a story in a movie as a videographer or in a short film? How about using all of those techniques that were used in posing, in the expression, in all of those things, using all of those expressions and all to create your short film? But then what you find out is that we limit ourselves in thinking, but then we limit ourselves in saying that we can only gather information or we can only learn about things in our field. In fact, what we have done is that whatever is not recent cannot be used as an inspiration. Do we understand? Like, you discover that certain photographers and videographers actually just focus on pictures and images that were taken between the year maybe 2000 and maybe 2005 till present. And then we fail to understand that before 2005, you discover that there were very good arts that were made, both videography, in film, in photography, in arts, in everything. In the 80s and 90s, there were very good art forms that were made. How about having a research to know what they were thinking when they made that particular sculpture? Like, you have a research into the reason why an image was shot in a particular way, why a painting was made in a particular way. So if you do all of these things, you discover that after a while, you're already putting together things from the past, inspiration from the past, and then merging it with the present. Now imagine in this new age now, we have AI, we have all of these new techniques to photography and all. We have lights that are multiple colors. You can basically tell any stories. We have gels and all of those things, the snoot and all of those things. Now imagine joining all of these new technologies that we have and adding inspiration from the past and then making it work for you. Do you understand? So in doing all of these things, you discover that you're even going roots deep and then you are creating something that even makes more meaning. Have you ever considered this? That the people who made art forms had many limitations that we don't have right now. So how about if I add, or if I make up for the limitations that they didn't have, and then I make that into an art form? Do you know how great that would be? Like, now, some limitations of the, probably maybe the 50s, 60s, I don't know if there was colored photography or colored cameras, or cameras that could see colors as at those times. But then we don't have that limitation now. So how about telling the stories or using their inspiration to channel your own creativity in that particular direction, but using the new technologies and infusing the things that were limitations to them, and then making it all into an art form? You discover that you are miles ahead. But what do we have these days? What we have these days is a bunch of copied techniques. Like, you see a technique, you copy it. This technique was shot maybe last week, you copy it, and then you create something else, something similar to that particular technique. You create something similar to that particular technique. Instead of doing that, why not just go way back and then think and look at how things were done way back? Do we understand? One of the other misconceptions about photography and videography is the fact that you have to have a camera to make videos or pictures. That is a common misconception. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but many movies or many short films have been made using an iPhone. Many movies have been made using other devices, like maybe Samsung. Look at some iPhones, some Samsung, you discover that some of these phones have really good quality, and some features on the cameras have been put into these phones. Something like image stabilization, it's now available on the iPhone and on the Samsung. So you can make a video and then your hand is a bit shaky, and then the phone will actually stabilize that for you. So it's very important for us to actually know that a phone can as well shoot a video and make great pictures, just like a camera will. If you're limiting yourself to only a camera to create, then I don't think that is right. One of the things I've also noticed is that when photographers actually want to use their phones to take pictures, they completely forget that framing also works when you want to take a picture with your phone. That perspective, lighting, colors, and all the other technicalities of photography also apply when you're shooting with your phone. Now, because you're shooting with a phone and not with a camera, does it automatically change the fact that you are still shooting a picture or making a video? So when making a picture or a video with your phone, also still understand that you're still a photographer and a videographer, and you still have to produce that excellent quality that you want to produce. So if there was a certain kind of lighting you would do to shoot a picture with your phone, with your camera, you should actually have that same lighting to make a picture with your phone, regardless of whether you're shooting with a phone or with a camera. If you want to make a video with a phone, remind yourself that the same way I was going to angle my frame, the same way I was going to use the different framing techniques, maybe roll of thirds and the rest of it, the same way I will use my roll of thirds, the golden roll, the same way I would use leading lines and the other framing techniques when I'm shooting with my camera, it's the same way I'm going to actually use those techniques when I'm shooting with my phone. Now, there's another group of people that are actually waiting to have a camera to make content. So you are waiting to buy a camera before you shoot pictures or make videos. Here's the thing. We all know that life is in stages, and you may not have the money to have all the gears that you want, but then you can start from where you are. Now, I know someone that shot a full campaign for a big brand, but the person shot on a phone and not on a camera. In fact, the person had to fly out of Nigeria to go shoot the campaign, but the campaign was shot on a phone. Now, this should be a lesson for those that are actually waiting to have that camera. Maybe you're waiting to have that big gear, you're waiting to have that lens before you start shooting. The truth about it is that those gears are going to come, but if you wait for those gears to come, then you actually stop yourself from growing waiting for those gears. Now those gears will come meeting you at the same level instead of you growing yourself using whatever is available to you. I've heard someone say this: the best camera to use is the one you have currently in your hands. That is, the best gadget to use is the one you currently have in your hand. I know some people would say, oh, I don't even have a great phone, I don't have something to shoot with, oh, my phone is not that great. I know. How about you just start learning using that crappy phone? How about you just start using that gadget that is not so good and all? Trust me, the gadgets will come. It's only a matter of time. But then if you stay waiting, that means you're cheating yourself from learning and then building yourself. So when those gadgets come, you're still the same learner that you were a couple of months or couple of years back. Do you understand? So one of the other misconceptions that people have is, I've heard this said a lot of times, I am a Nikon shooter, I am a Canon shooter, I am a Sony shooter, and because of this, my pictures are great. Now, somebody needs to hear this. It is not because you're shooting on a Sony or on a Nikon or a Fujifilm or anything. That is not what makes you a good photographer or a videographer. It is actually what you have up here. The ideas that you have, the way you're able to light, the way you're able to move. Trust me, with the crappiest camera, you can create something better than somebody that has the best camera. This is not even motivational talk. If you know how to light well and properly, you will shoot with an iPhone and you shoot with somebody that does not have the idea about the lighting techniques, the framing techniques and all of that things. You will shoot better than those people will. So the idea of, oh, I am a Sony shooter, I am a Canon shooter, I'm a Fujifilm shooter, I'm saving money to buy a Hasselblad so I can shoot, I can do all of these things. To be honest, if you are good, it will show in what you're doing. If you are good, it will show in the level of pictures and videos you're taking. Have you ever seen pictures and or videos that you know that this picture and this video is so good that if this picture or video was taken with a very good camera, that is just the end? Like, you have an incredible body of work. Have you ever seen that kind of picture or video before? You just know that this, it has low quality and all, but you just know that the idea that went into creating this is actually impeccable, is beautiful. So having this notion that if I shoot with this kind of Canon and this kind of Sony, my pictures will look this certain way and all, I feel like that myth is actually wrong, because there's no camera that you shoot with that you would not produce good quality if you know how to shoot. Now, are there no cameras with better quality as regarding maybe one brand doing better in videos and pictures and all of, we have all of those things. Those things are there. But now, that's not what we're talking about. Does that automatically make you a good photographer or a good videographer? Zero. No. It doesn't make you a good photographer or a videographer. It just makes you somebody that is just hunting for the best thing or for the best brand that can do the work for you. Now, you can prefer different stuff. You know, automatically, some people feel like if you hold a particular brand of gear, that you're not a very serious photographer or a videographer. You're not in the game yet. But the truth about it is that if you know what you're doing, you are going to outshoot somebody that doesn't know what they are doing. The key thing here is your mind. If you can create, if you can first see in your mind and then create that thing, I mean, you are going to do way better than somebody that has a very good camera but doesn't even have the technical knowledge that you have in creating. A very good friend of mine for a very long time shot with a Canon 5D Mark II. And the images that came out of those cameras can stand anywhere. I mean, on any stage for any award. He just recently upgraded his camera. So imagine people who have very good cameras. You have all the R5s and the stuff, like all the R6 and stuff, and you don't have the technical knowledge that you should have. And you're looking at someone that is shooting on maybe a DSLR body, and then you're just saying, oh no, this person is not it yet. You've not gotten there yet. I mean, you're deceiving yourself. A DSLR shooter can outshoot you as a mirrorless shooter if you as a mirrorless shooter don't know what you're doing. So forget that myth of what brand do you shoot and everything. Go for knowledge. That is the key thing. Go for knowledge. Pursue knowledge. Pursue knowledge. You understand the creative part of the craft. Understand it. Understand colors. There's no way you cannot bend your colors. There is absolutely no way you cannot bend your colors, regardless of whether you are shooting with a Canon, a Sony, or whatever it is that you're shooting with. If you understand how to color, there's no way you cannot use your colors. Now, the final thing I am going to speak about as a common misconception among photographers and videographers is editing apps. I've once had somebody that has asked me, oh, are you using the recent Photoshop, Lightroom, Capture One, and the rest? And that question for a while just puzzled me. Like, what is the importance of this thing? It's just to get the recent updates, right? To get the latest version is just to get the recent updates. It's not exactly like those older versions became obsolete. It's not that those older versions became obsolete. It's not because those old versions stopped editing pictures or videos. You'll find people saying, oh, are you using the latest Lightroom? Are you using the latest Capture One? Are you using the latest Photoshop and all? Well, you have new improvements like the AI infused into all of the new versions. But the truth about it is that if you can color in the older version, you can still color in the newer version. It doesn't change the color. It is your level of knowledge. I've even had people even ask me, are you a Lightroom person or are you a Capture One person? And it puzzles me. These are basically the same apps. They just have different buttons and different interfaces. They are the same thing, literally. Like if you want to color grade on Capture One and you want to color grade on Lightroom, they are basically the same thing. If you want to color grade on Camera Raw, they are the same thing. That's Camera Raw in Photoshop. They are the same thing. It's nothing different. So if you can understand how to color grade in Lightroom, then you will know how to color grade in Capture One, which means you will know how to color grade in Camera Raw. The key thing is you know it. How about if you're faced with a situation where maybe you didn't travel with your PC and then you just walk into a place where there's a PC and then you only have Lightroom and you're a Capture One person? What would you do? Would you stay stranded because you're a Capture One person, or vice versa? Or maybe you only had access to Photoshop. Now, you even hear videographers saying this, that, oh, if you color on this particular app is better. Or yes, we know that certain apps have gone really far in their like interfaces in color grade and all other things. But then for the basic stuff, you can basically use a very good app to do it. For the very basics, and for this basic stuff I'm saying, like I'm not saying like doing something mediocre. I'm saying like for a very good output, you can get it from any app you're using, as long as you know what you're doing. But then we just box ourselves into this idea or ideology that I am only good with Lightroom, I'm only good with Photoshop, I'm only good with Capture One, I'm only good with DaVinci, I'm only good with Premiere Pro. If this one is not available, then I can't do it. People have edited videos before with CapCut. Now, this is not to say that CapCut is any less app to the other ones, but it's relatively a new app. It came out after these other ones that we have now. So I've seen someone actually use CapCut to edit and color grade a video in front of me, and it was so beautiful. It's so beautiful to see the new upgrades on all of these new apps. So if you box yourself, I am focused on Premiere Pro, I'm focused on DaVinci, it cannot be any app. You're only boxing yourself up in one ideology and you're limiting yourself to a particular level. So if a new app comes out today, trust me, I'm going to try it out. I'll try it out. If it works for me, I add it to my workflow. If it doesn't work for me, then I just keep using what I'm using. But then having the idea that I'm only good with this particular app doesn't work. If you are a good colorist, if you know how to color a picture, a video in one app, you should be able to do it in another app. Do you understand? It may be a different interface, but then you already have the idea. You already know the kind of color you're going for. So stop boxing yourself in one particular idea that this is what I can do and it can only be achieved using this. For today, this is where we are actually going to stop. We have come to the end of this class. So thank you so much for staying till the end. If you would like to be a part of Belac Academy, so there's a link in the description below, so click that link to register to be a part of this academy. Also, to support us, you can like this video, share and subscribe to this channel. Also turn on your notification bell so you get notified the next time we drop a video. Thank you for staying till the end, and we will see you in the next one.